Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammad Jalal Ghani and my group member is Rashid Afzal. Today I am going to represent ASP.NET SignalR. Topics focused on traditional web approach, what does real-time mean, SignalR the rockstar, quick answer transfer techniques, type of connection, and how do one can get SignalR. What is a traditional web approach? You got a client, you got a server, and send a request to a server. In other words, the client is trying to pull some information from the server. Server just processes the request and eventually response sent back to the client. And here we have some HTML. So our topic is SignalR. SignalR is the coolest thing we can ever use. Basically, SignalR is a way to allow us to make real-time applications over HTTP. As many of probably already know that HTTP is used to communicate between client and server. HTTP is stateless. You make a request, you get a response. Again you make a request, again you get a response. But how can you tell the server that you are the same person that visited earlier? So you have to maintain some cookies or some kind of stuff to tell the server that hey, I'm the same user that came earlier. So what is real-time web application? In simple words, real-time means an immediate response being sent by the server to the client. Real-time is all about pushing instead of pulling. Actually, SignalR allow us to make real-time application. And what I mean that something happened on the server, all the clients going to know that. You can use Facebook, Yahoo, Cricket, Livestock, all the using the same techniques. Everything that need to be updated automatically. It is a great candidate. SignalR is the most probably the best candidate you have for such kind of activities. SignalR can also be used for mobile application, but it's generally used for ASP.NET web applications. It commonly uses Visual Basic and C Sharp. These languages are used for server-side programming and HTML, JavaScript, and standard client-side garbage for the client side. So, here we have one more important point, push technology. Push technology is completely different from the pull technology. It's about getting told what's new instead of asking for what's new. So how does it work? You got a client, you got a server. Client just make a request to the server. In the old scenario, what does be happen? The client is requesting and server is going to respond for it, but in that case it's going to create a persistent connection between them, and after all response is going to be sent back to the client. Again response is going to the client, and again and again and again. So what's happening here? In case of SignalR, it just make a tunnel, like we have a client and we have a server, and there is a tunnel in between them. Whenever a client is going to connect to the server, it's going to that tunnel and the information is going back to the client from that tunnel. So now we are going to discuss about the some scenarios. How does this SignalR thing started? SignalR is a asynchronous library used to develop real-time web application. Concept initiated by the David Fowler and the Damien Edwards, provide client to server persistent connection over HTTP. Make use of push technology. However, let's talk about more about SignalR. It actually abstract the transport techniques and the connections. And let's talk about the transport techniques. So here we have WebSockets, server sent events, forever frames, long pooling. What are these WebSockets? A new transport technique which came up with HTML5. It internally works on top of the TCP protocol. It has some pros and cons like fully duplex persistent connections, but on the other hand, supported only on latest browsers. It doesn't work with the older browsers like IE, older versions, maybe lower than 8.0. So server sentiments require a single connection between client server. Use JavaScript API event source through which client can request a particular URL to receive data streams. And it has again pros and cons. No needed to reconnect, work in server to client direction only. Forever frames, data is sent out in the chunks. And the interesting part is whenever the data is going to be sent in chunks, if you lost one of the chunk, your whole data is going to be busted. So the pros is quoted on IE browser, and the cons as iframes are loaded again and again with a chunk of data. All script tags are remain on the page. So there is some hacking issue as well. Long cooling. And here comes one of the most interesting part. You got a server, you got a client, you just request to the server, you get a response, you again request, you get a response, you again request and you get a response. And they can see that there is a time delay. Every time you make a request there is a time delay, which is unbearable in such type of modern world. So let's talk about SignalR connections, hubs and persistent connection. By the way, hubs are quite important. It's just like an API. Persistent connection provide a low level control to manage connections. Contains even like on connection, on disconnection, and on reconnection. Like you can manage all of your code. Like whenever your signal or API going to connect with something, what is going to be happen? Or your code is going to disconnect with someone, then what's going to be happen? Or your application is going to reconnect, then what's going to be happen? You can control all in one application. Hubs provides a high-level API. Client calling server, server calling clients, broadcast messages to all connected clients, works in a simpler way like a controller. How do I get a signal? Simply, you can get it from NuGet packages. We all know how to get these packages. You have to go to references, manage NuGet packages. There you have to write SignalR and you can have it. After installing, you have all its feature. You can see in references, some jQuery stuff here, and all what it is. By the way, routing is very important. All your application depends on routing. Where your message is going, where your message is receiving, it all depends on routing. And I think that's all from this talk. Thanks for listening.